From the 1011 Now Alert Center, this is the Night Beat, sponsored by Pella Windows and Doors of Lincoln.
Good evening and thank you for joining me. I'm Jessica Blum with your headlines for Friday, February 6th. First, a heartbreaking end in the week-long search for a missing Lincoln man. 27-year-old Harrison Shores was found dead in his car, wrecked in a Saunders County creek. His father opening up to our Darsha Dodge today, showing her the scene where his youngest son was found and the memento he left behind in Harrison's honor. Here's that story tonight.
These tracks here along County Road 21, just west of Ceresco, mark the path to the final resting place of 27-year-old Harrison Shores, who went missing a week ago before his body was found inside his vehicle in Rock Creek.
When I think about Harrison, it's all the fun we had.
John Shores remembers his youngest son, Harrison, as a great listener.
He didn't put a lot of input in, but you knew he knew what was happening, and quiet.
Harrison's the youngest of three. He and his siblings, Shay and John, used to make little home movies, even recording their own fake newscasts.
We did a lot of work together on the farm and playing with Duffy, our dog, and it was just always fun.
John left his home in southeastern South Dakota, traveling to Lincoln to search for his missing son.
I came down here last Saturday and drove about 500 miles around the area, and this is just impossible to find from the road where he was at.
Father and son separated for years following a rough divorce. John's last text to Harrison came in December when he was flying over Lincoln, saying, "I'm thinking of you." Many prayer, "Please, Jesus, let Harrison respond." Before he left, John making his way carefully down here to the side of Rock Creek to leave this flag, which reads, "I love and miss you, Harrison Cruz Shores." Dad. John getting emotional thinking of all the time that he lost with his son over the last decade.
I'd say, Harrison, we lost a decade. Let's not do that ever again. It's too late now.
Thank you, Darsha Dodge, for that story here this evening. Questions remain after human remains were found on a private property in rural Saunders County yesterday. The discovery came during the search for the bodies of Hannah Neville and Roberto Tanner, who went missing last month. Lieutenant Dustin Romshek with LPD says the remains were found buried in a tree line on a private property north of Malmo. Investigators were unable to identify the remains from just looking at them. LPD is now waiting on DNA testing from pathologists before confirming the identities. Despite finding those human remains, Romshek says the search for clues is ongoing.
The CSI technicians and investigators still remain at the scene. This is still an ongoing investigation, and we are still doing our due diligence to make sure that we balance the investigative integrity of this case.
The Nebraska State Patrol and Saunders County Sheriff's Office are helping LPD with the search of that property in Saunders County. Police are also continuing the search to search other areas of interest and working to determine whether there are multiple scenes. You can watch today's full news conference on our 1011 Now app. The York County Sheriff's Office has shared new photos of a bank burglary in Bradshaw in hopes of identifying the culprit. Take a look at these photos, which show a person dressed head to toe in black, with their face covered, entering the Cornerstone Bank in Bradshaw after shattering the front door around 2:30 a.m. yesterday. Sheriff Paul Verbkus tells us no money was stolen, and investigators think the suspect was looking for an ATM, but that bank does not have one. He also estimates there was at least $500 in property damage. Authorities are asking the community to report any suspicious activity they might have seen. The Sheriff's Office says even the smallest detail can help move the case forward. This week, students at several Lincoln schools walked out to protest U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement. The demonstrations began Wednesday at Lincoln Southeast High School, where Lincoln Public Schools estimates Between 200 and 300 students marched around campus. By Friday, the protests had spread out to other schools, including Irving Middle School. A 1011 reporter on scene estimated about 150 Irving students gathered outside to demonstrate. Lincoln Public Schools says the walkouts are not approved or sponsored by the district, but officials know they cannot prevent students from exercising their First Amendment rights. And just before 4 a.m. this morning, the York Fire Department had to fight a fully involved fire outside of town. Just take a look at these photos. Their press release says when they got there, the roof of a storage building had already fallen in, and a grass fire had started. Crews were eventually able to knock it down and even had to call in an excavator to remove the collapsed roof and wall sections. Damage is estimated at $1.5 million for both the building and the content inside. And after the Tyson beef plant closed, a third of Lexington's community is now searching for new jobs. During this uncertain time, the Lexington Public Library is now serving as a resource for answers. Tyson announced in November of last year that the plant would close on January 20th. About 300 workers stayed on to operate on a smaller scale until Lexington's largest employer shut down for good. This left thousands with the difficult decision of whether or not to find other work in Lexington or to say goodbye to their home.
My mother is a single mother. She lives alone, does not drive, does not speak English. So this was very difficult for her because she depends 100% on Tyson.
Many want to stay so their children can finish school in Lexington. Then there are those who can't move. Coming up tonight at 10, we will have the full story on how families are searching for what's next. The 9th-ranked Husker softball team started the season with a win today in the Lone Star State. Nebraska defeated fellow Big Ten school Washington 8-5, thanks to home runs from Lauren Kamenzind and Jesse Farrell. Starting pitcher Alexis Jensen had 10 strikeouts, and Jordy Fromm notched her first save of the season. Now the action in the UTSA Invitational in San Antonio doesn't stop there. Nebraska's been taking on former Big 12 rival and the top-ranked team in the country, Texas. It's the first of 2 games against the Longhorns this week. It is over on ESPN Plus right now. The current score is at 10-7. Texas does lead at the top of the 7th with 1 out. Finally tonight, and rounding out your night beat, is a check of the 7-day forecast. Temperatures are on a warming trend through this weekend. We'll stay around 50 degrees into Saturday, but bump up another 10 degrees for Sunday with less wind, and then almost a picturesque day on Monday. I think if we had room, we may shove in a top 10, 11 day on the board for the 7-day forecast, but 70 degrees, that is forecast to beat the old record of 68 degrees back in 1954, before we will cool through the course of next week with some added chances at precipitation, though it doesn't look like much for now.
You've been listening to The Night Beat, sponsored by Pella Windows and Doors of Lincoln. Watch, listen, and stream on the 1011 app on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts.